right. Okay, so it's 6:06 on Tuesday, July 16th, 2024, the Land Acquisition Commission meeting for the third quarter. We're here at Birdcraft Museum and also via conference call bridge. In attendance, we have Rob Wilkins, Ted Desvane, Cassandra Marshall, Steve Sivikoff, and Tara Hawley on the conference bridge. So we have a quorum.
Mark Egan.
Mark Egan.
I was confused there because you introduced yourself and that was not the name.
Corrected. Sorry, long day.
Sorry,
Mark. All right, so 6:07, call to order. Pledge of Allegiance. Flags. Pledge allegiance to the flag. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I hope everybody had a chance to look at the draft minutes from the last meeting that I circulated. Next on our agenda is to approve those minutes. Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Good. April 2nd, meeting minutes are approved. Okay. Next on the agenda, as we usually like to open up with, is a update from Conservation Director Bishop on the latest events in land acquisition and what his department, the Conservation Department, has been doing. The spreadsheet was circulated with some highlights. I know there was a significant purchase that we're all excited to hear about, maybe hear a little more that we don't know. Tim, it's all yours.
Thank you. I'll just go down the worksheet list with updates since our last meeting, starting at the top with Barry at 152 Beaver Street. That foreclosure action is still in progress in the hands of the town attorney due to the minor complications with the estate, so that is still moving forward. Next, 236 Woodside Circle is we've decided to abandon pursuit of that acquisition since discussed at our last meeting. Since the last meeting, my conversations with the brother of the owner, who was ill, has since passed, so that property is now in the estate's hands. I've spoken with several potential buyers, so there is some interest, but as far as this commission and my department is concerned, we're abandoning pursuit, but we'll continue to pursue corrective action under the inland wetlands regulations.
I just want to point out that that property is showing on MLS as under contract.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know who the buyer is, but the agent did make a point of saying in the remarks, there's this huge violation, with an estimated cost, I forget what, but it was at least $80,000.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've been telling people 75 to 100.
Yeah, so the buyer should be aware, but do we have a filed violation on the land record?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that'll turn up in the title search then.
Problem in the past was previous 2 or 3 title searches didn't occur because they were cash deals and they were just getting passed on owner to owner.
Oh.
So that's why it's taken 21 years to get the corrective action initiated.
Mm-hmm.
So inland wetlands will deal with that. We'll abandon pursuit of acquisition at this time. 240 Red Oak, 300 Stonewall Lane, and 305 Stonewall Lane. And my last conversation was June 14th with the executrix of the estate. I've had the conversation with her and Attorney Fitzpatrick, and while moving slow, it's still on her radar, and she's interested in the donation. So those 3 parcels are the biggest on this list, and one of the most exciting because of their size for wetlands protection, some potential creation of a new open space with potential to create some new trails and other recreation in that part of town. And conveniently, where I've initiated a discussion with Audubon, who abuts the property, to connect a new trail system and entrances and exits with their property, which they have an interest. Next one is Bragg at 1207 Congress Street. We foreclosed on that back in May 14th, and acquired those 3 acres. I have yet to walk it, but intend to somehow safely get on it from Merritt Parkway and confirm a vernal pool at that location. We'll have to wait till spring. But that is now 3 acres are now ours. The most exciting and making all the headlines these days are 798 and 816 Sturgis Road. I been before all boards, including this commission, went in more of its infancy and since evolved and made a substantial progress towards acquisition since our last meeting. Last night I was before the RTM, and in the next hour I'll go before finance on this topic, but we do have a signed contract for $950,000 to purchase both parcels, one undeveloped lot and one with a small, it's about 1,600 square foot single family home. And if approved and moving forward, will be the future Fairfield Environmental Science Station for environmental education purposes. Done the site inspection with a third-party inspection vendor and the town's building manager from DPW 2 weeks ago. Nothing structural or concerning other than some minor issues with buried oil storage tank. But other than that, structurally, it's sound. Roof, no major red flags, but all the major components of the structure are in good shape. The intent would be to, I guess, on the dollar side, what we're doing is requesting approval for the $950 for the funding of the purchase, as well as another $100,000 in outfitting and basic repairs and compliance matters as far as code compliance with ADA, fire codes. In-house will probably look to address the parking space, probably eventually connect to sewer and get off septic, and then do something with the oil tank removal and eventually heating. Again, the intent of the use of the space will be run through Conservation Department on behalf of the Conservation Commission, and utilize the space in conjunction with the Board of Ed and other not-for-profit environmental groups for educational purposes. The building will be outfitted with kind of in some cases, in some way, shape, or form, a laboratory scene with equipment that kids can collect organisms in the open space, in the Mill River, in the pond, in Perry's Mill Pond, and bring those back to the station for examination. It'd be something like microscopes and fish tanks with tadpoles and daphnia and, looking at mayfly nymphs under a microscope, stuff like that. I think everyone that I've talked to in town, public boards otherwise, are pretty exciting. So hopefully that continues to move forward. And also on last night's agenda and recent agendas, including tonight, is a donation for 470 and 700 Westway Road. We officially have title back on May 7th, but just as a formality, these two parcels are running through the board approvals to accept the donation because of its history, that it was recommended by planning and zoning, I don't know, something like 10 years ago, to accept, but that didn't happen, so we're doing it now. Those parcels, the 700 parcel is adjacent to our existing 2+ acre 600 parcel, so that'll essentially double that open space to almost 4 acres, where I intend to cut a new trail in for users in that part of town. There's not much green space in Southport. This is close to 95, where Oxford, Westway Road meets Oxford. There's an underpass there into Southport. There's tidal wetlands. 700 is all tidal wetlands, but 470 is actually inland wetlands on the other side of 95. That's not contiguous, but both will offer protection and, again, expand our open space. And the last one might be one of the oldest ones on this list is the former Bulkley Pond that will double our Hulse Highway open space. The first ordinance notice was submitted May 17th for foreclosure, and that is because there are 8 listed heirs, I'll call them, on the estate. That again is just a paper, is complicated by paper procedures through the estate foreclosure. So that one's much closer than it has been, and I feel like I've been talking about this one for years, but it's gotten closer, so I'm happy that baby steps are moving. So in summary, on the bottom, there's 34.6 acres listed. Since I got here, we've acquired 10 parcels, totaling 10.212 acres with an average of 3.40 parcels per month. So there's still 24.48 remaining. A big chunk of those would be the Stonewall and Red Oak, and the Post Road parcel. I think those are pretty much the biggest ones. Procedurally, I'll just note that not so new, but newer town council, in many cases, is going to want to accept donations through the board approval process, which makes my life more difficult and spending more time in board meetings, contrary to previous town council, which they were donated or just accepted by title and moved on. Other than that, the list is dwindling, I'd say, a little bit, but still looking, always looking for more.
Was changing that process voted on, or it's just like that you wanted to say that?
His interpretation of the charter is different than the previous attorney's interpretation. So, it might not be in all cases, depending on how the process comes about, whether it's a foreclosure, whether it's a donation, whether it's something else, some other mechanism.
On the list for 700 Westway, it says acquired deed on May 7th, 2025. Should that be 2024?
Oh, yes, it should be 2024. I dragged it, and it autocorrect. Yep. I'll check that on the... You do that anywhere else?
No, that's it.
Okay. Good catch.
For Perry's Mill Pond, my question was when is opening day going to be? Maybe how long? the target?
We're probably looking at about a year out.
Year.
Yeah. Maybe next summer. Do all the kind of the outfitting and bring it up to code and compliance with having to be served as kind of an institution. We'll have to meet some of those requirements for smoke and fire and ADA type things. So the intent will be to have a trails behind the parking lot and behind it's already sort of one behind the structure that will connect to the existing trail system, sort of by the first Boy Scout bridge as you walk in. So that network would tie into both, depending on which way you want to go.
Any volunteer opportunities to help speed things along? Or?
I think there will be once we take title, because the intent not only for ownership would be to, in some ways, to serve as a kind of sustainable display piece of stormwater management and sustainable building practices. Can we get geothermal? Can we do solar? Can we, do mini splits for efficiency? Can we have a pollinator garden? Can we build pervious versus gravel pavement related to stormwater, stuff like that? So that would be, once implemented, there'd be educational signage to show it in practice as kind of a demonstration to a lot of what we preach on from an inland wetlands and conservation standpoint.
Cool. Congratulations.
Thank you. So far.
Oh my God.
All right. Anybody else want to chime in on any of the?
Just congratulations. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been a lot of work. I think I haven't run into any opposition. I mean, I first came with the idea for the administration and not knowing whether the town has the appetite to take on another structure for maintenance and operation, and obviously a big price tag. But everyone's been behind it, and I think it's probably a once in a lifetime opportunity to have this type of facility. Type of facility behind, or adjacent to existing town open space, so that we could operate as a facility, environmental science facility, to partner with the Board of Ed, but also have a station there to foster really kids that are interested in this, and really will be the future of natural resources management in this town and beyond. So.
All right. All right. So, thanks, Tim. That's definitely exciting. We're all. You need our group to support you in any way. We certainly can.
Thank you.
Next item is something that Adam and I were planning on doing. A meeting with planning and zoning. We had met with First Selectman a couple months ago to talk about the way the town values properties for the fee in lieu of open space determination. Some properties we thought were valued too low, and it turned out that they were based on some older property cards and weren't, because the town does the revaluation every 5 years. So they were looking at some older values and coming up with the percentage fee. So we wanted to just get on the same page with everybody that, we're all concerned that the properties that are that the town does receive a fee for in lieu of open space, that we're getting the proper amount. So when Adam's back, I'll discuss with him to see when we could meet with Jim Wendt, probably at the end of the summer. We'll see what his schedule is, see what everyone's schedule is, and go from there. If anybody else wants to come, just let me know. Got a big group, so we'll see if we can make some headway on that.
I'm happy to join that if you want.
Sure.
I'll be there. And to that point too is that he is now providing a large chunk of the acquisition money for Sturgis Road project.
Yeah, I saw that in the news article on Patch.
It's an exciting connection with the closed loop. I remember when Adam brought this up, or you brought this up, there was a question about whether it should be based on the assessments or should be based on market value. It sounds like the conversation really is just, is it the right assessment? Is it the most current assessment? Do I understand that right?
I think that's what we have to focus on initially, because that's what's historically been done in the charter. We would probably, we can talk to them and see what the options are to see if we can get market value in there, because it's obviously gone up a lot in the past few years. But that would, that's going to be more of a hill to climb to get market value as like the indicator, but we'll see what we can do.
You may not know this, but do we know if other towns have kind of solved this problem, and if there's somebody's lead we can just kind of follow?
I think we talked about this a couple meetings ago, that maybe Westport does something like that. I haven't followed up on that, but we should see if there's any towns that do kind of similar.
And I don't know the answers, but if I can help it anyway, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
But it's always easier to say, look, this other town's already doing it, and we're...
Mm-hmm. Maybe you might know. Does Wilton do something similar? But
I'm not sure.
All right. Well, we can research and maybe.
If you want to get in contact with any other towns, let me know.
Okay. Yeah, because that would make it easier to push something through if we think it makes sense. All right. Moving along, new business. The Adopt a Street program has come alive. There's signs around town. And I was thinking that our group could pick a street tonight that would be, we would have the sign put up.
Just came in the mail.
That's us. Yeah.
Time.
So we just need to formally approve.
Celebrate also.
Yeah. 2 M's, 2 S's.
I always look at that. Did I miss it? Did I move that?
That looks bigger than the one you got for conservation.
What street do you guys have, or do you have a few streets?
Well, Sturgis Road. The Inland Wetlands has one too.
Up by Mohegan.
Yeah, they swapped. That's right. I'm sorry, don't mean to interrupt.
No, that's all right. I guess the question is, the beach area would be nice, but maybe some other parts of town, like where there's any issues with trash on the road and things like that. Is there any streets?
I think it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So for anyone that doesn't know, this program, collects sponsorships of the road with the intent of keeping roadside litter from going down the catch basin into a stream or a wetland. And the sponsor signs up to do 500 feet on both sides of the road on a quarterly basis for 5 years if they want. That's the program. That's the plan right now. I think there's about 13 sponsors so far. They range from families to boards and commissions. There's some businesses. A little mix of everything. It has to be a town-owned road too. Can't be state-owned. We don't have jurisdiction there. So it could really be anywhere that you guys decide that would be effective. Obviously, the beach district is higher density, or other parts of the 95 corridor part of town, or Post Road's part of town. But I think part of it's kind of some recognition and name recognition for the sponsor. but also, obviously the hey, we're doing something, trying to make a difference.
Yeah. I was off the top of my head thinking Umpqua Road, right there. What do you think? I was also thinking High Street, but for some reason.
High Street's my territory, so I'd be happy to do that. Or it pops into my head about Gold Manor Park, because there's like a lot of parking that people hang out in for lunch breaks and stuff. But I don't know if that CPW would really be covering that, or they crisscross and it's fine. There's the bathrooms there, so it's high use area.
Yeah.
But there's the ponds. Do you know what I'm talking about, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I drive by it often and do definitely see some litter there that would be easy enough for us to keep track of. But that only pops into my head because that's my neighborhood.
When you mentioned Umpqua Mill River Wetland Committee,
Do they have the whole
it hasn't gone up yet.
stretch?
There's signs in this deliverable.
So we probably want like a whole stretch of road. I don't know, Round Hill Road?
Definitely high vis. That's right. On my homepage, that's where I put the picture of was a catch basin full of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
That I posted.
Near the university?
Would it,
Right near the 95 off-ramp.
Yeah, yeah.
just thinking out loud, but would it make sense for us to have the sign somewhere where there's an open space nearby as well?
Yeah.
It's kind of, reinforces the connectivity.
What's like the busiest open space do we think that, would need some maintenance?
The busiest is Mohegan. That's where Inland Wetlands has their sign.
Okay.
What about, that new development of 9 houses on Mill Plain? Isn't there an open space, not on Mill Plain, but on the...
Springer? What's the street?
Yeah. Yeah, the new houses are going up.
Bilson.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Still
farm one in there you're talking about? Or
Still
the-
Center Brookside would get all the bids.
Yeah, there's an open
That might-
space there.
That might work.
A new development that I think they contributed a little bit to that.
In the road.
Yeah, a little. Yeah.
So like maybe along Brookside Drive, because that's highly populated. The thing there is that river gets filled with trash because of the lake. Whenever there's a high storm, all of that just comes flowing in. So that would be, like if we were...
That would put us to work,
like a
yeah.
lot of bigger items.
Be careful what you sign up
Is there like a,
We don't want our sign.
Well, like,
yeah, they're going to blame us for not doing our job?
And it's not,
I mean, I'm totally happy to do the sidewalk stuff, but like when a storm comes through, like huge items come down that.
Yeah. Well, that's mostly DPW.
Yeah,
It's more for that.
but I do like the idea. I like,
All right. So are we thinking, is it Stilson or Brookside?
well,
I don't
Brookside
really know
is
the-
more pedestrian traffic, so I think
Mm.
it's like more litter to collect there. Whereas Stilson, I don't know,
Yeah, let's maybe do,
at the bottom of the hill, so when it rains, goes down into a basin there, but I drive that road often, and I guess I don't really see it as dirty.
I feel guilty because I'm not noticing dirty roads. Now
Oh, you know,
now I'm reaching.
I to the highway,
yeah,
Yeah.
Round Hill's already,
to the highway edge.
yeah.
Round Hill's already taken, you said, right?
So just that.
Round Hill?
Sorry.
No, the Mo's sign got put right next to
To be, yeah,
She wanted Post Road where
yeah.
next to the Chevy dealer, but they can't because it's state, so.
And just to clarify the question, so you said once a quarter is what the commitment is. So is the idea that?
Yeah, and like roughly.
I mean, yeah.
No one's like, hey, you didn't clean up your garbage yet.
But
But I want to make
Round
it-
Hill doesn't
Yeah.
have open space, but has a lot of visibility.
But is it the kind of thing where we'd pick like a morning and
Yeah.
we'd all show
Yeah.
up and, maybe
Saturday morning or
I don't know,
something,
something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Or if it wasn't, and hey, it's a nice day, I'm gonna go for a walk. I'll take care of it this quarter, guys.
Okay.
Whatever you guys want to do.
I do feel like as Fairfield has grown in population, this issue has gotten worse.
Yes.
And so I do want to be an area where we can make a difference.
I'm
Should we think about it, or we need to pick today?
I think we should pick today. We can always change too, maybe.
That's true.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, lately Public Works has been using existing signposts.
Okay.
So they'll piggyback on something close as possible, like maybe it'll be on a sharp curve sign and they'll put both there. You know, so they're not putting more signs in people's
Right.
front yard and then causing a problem.
I think, and everybody can weigh in, that we should maybe do Round Hill just because it's high traffic and it's right, you know, a lot of people, residents come down, get on the highway, so there'll be a lot of visibility for us. It's not near an open space, but we can maybe move it next year or something if we want, or
It'll just
earlier.
be cross streets.
Near the unit, like at Barlow, around there.
Yeah.
No trash.
No, it's a fine wreck. I agree with visibility though.
Ted, you want to make a decision?
Me? Yeah, I'm embarrassed because I know what the roads look like.
We'll go, yeah, right now.
I'm literally looking them up. Round Hill's totally fine, but if there's no.
Mark, what do you think?
Fairfield, you put theirs down on Reef Road near the sea break. Not,
Really?
Because they kind of had to.
That's perfect.
that was,
Yeah.
I suggested that.
Yeah.
Can we have it
Damage control. Yeah.
Personally, I feel like Gold Manor is high visibility, and I see trash when I go by there.
What would be the cross street?
So it's Holland Hill,
Okay.
and then that does this.
Holland Hill, yeah, it comes into Round Hill too, so it's good.
That's true.
So that, what was the street again?
I'm proposing Holland Hill, but we need to make an agreement versus, what was it?
Round Hill.
Round.
Yeah, I'm okay with Holland Hill. I just don't know the cross street. Do you want, is it you want Holland and High?
You're looking to place the sign in like a little section that has like a little flower garden or something like that?
No, it'd be right on the sign, right on the curb or wherever there's an existing speed limit sign or whatever. If there is not one, then Public Works will put one in. But so far they've been piggybacking on.
I mean, personally, I think it would look really good next to where that workout station is. You know, there's a stop sign there.
Oh, yeah.
Park and Rec. Yeah.
Because that particular part, like people picnic there all the time, and so there does wind up being some litter. Or the other corner would be between Crestwood and Holland Hills, super busy four-way. It's where the baseball fields are. If you're going to go towards Home Depot.
Under 95 there.
Yeah, under 95. That's like a really busy intersection.
All right.
That would probably make more sense. It's like
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, we're just responsible for the road, not the park, so.
Yeah.
And the visibility there would be good.
Everyone parks there to have like a little lunch break or whatever. It's like,
Here to get your trash.
Yeah.
All right, so let's,
for a lot of work.
yeah. Okay, so,
But it's only 4 times a year.
yeah, so we'll have, we'll do one in September or something.
Only if you guys agree, I don't know. It's just that I drive it and I'm like, oh wow.
I say we do there. Holland Hill and Crestwood.
And so I understand the intersection. Are we saying we've got Holland Hill 500 feet in either direction or Crestwood 500 feet?
Oh.
Holland Hill, yeah, that's the,
That way we cover that parking section, and then, you know, it does. I think like it does make me happy because there's that pond there, and these poor like creatures are getting inundated with too many people and all of that that comes along with that.
I like that idea a lot.
We can really get in there
Yeah.
and like make a difference.
it works for me.
We want everyone to be excited about this.
Yeah.
When it's time to show up on Saturday morning, we're like, you know, we don't want to be I didn't vote for this.
Yeah, happy with it? Yeah. Yeah, so it'll be one Saturday morning.
Say that.
We'll figure it out. We'll postpone it if we have to sometime in the fall when it gets cool.
So
All right, and if we feel like we want to change where we want to have the sign, I'm sure
That's a good
we'll be
idea.
able to do that.
So is it safe to say on Holland Hill between Crestwood and New England Avenue?
Mhm.
I just want to make sure you get the
Yeah.
station right.
Yeah.
Wherever there's a, I guess southbound's probably, like, I don't know if
We'll
it
get
matters.
right?
We get both sides.
Cleaning up both sides, they
The sign goes, yeah,
specify the direction the sign's facing.
Okay.
Otherwise, the other team will just move the trash to our side, you know what I mean? I'm kidding,
All right.
for the record.
Okay. That's great.
That's a great spot.
Yep.
Do we need a motion to,
Motion to approve Holland and Crestwood.
Seconded.
All in favor?
aye?
Aye. Okay. All right. Next item, maybe with other people too. I was thinking that, it would be good for the Land Acquisition Commission to chat with Conservation Commission just about, maybe hear a little bit about, what they're up to, what we could help them with, and, in general, just discuss common interests, ways to get visibility for both groups, set some goals maybe just as far as, acquiring properties and also conserving what we have. So Diane Saunders and Sharon? Peter are here today. Thanks for joining us. And I guess maybe you could just tell us what's kind of the more exciting things you guys have been working on lately. I know you're have been working on the Perry's Mill acquisition with us.
That's all.
We all got through.
We're really excited about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as a question, I'm just interested to know why this is on your radar now, just so I have an understanding of what was making you think about this topic.
Well, it's for me, I wasn't really sure, whether or not, there's an issue that we were voting on, whether to acquire a certain property or take the fee in lieu, whether or not, we missed out by not talking to each other about anything in advance. But there's nothing on the radar right now.
No.
But I guess maybe my question was, would you guys be interested in chatting in advance of, decisions, votes?
Well, I'll tell you what we were talking about is, we're a group of, we're non-professionals in that regard, but the commission is pretty varied. But we have I don't want to go through the resumes, but what we do is we have to look at things as non-professionals. So we're anxious for input. We're looking for input from you. We're looking for input from somebody on this, anybody. And we take that all in and we evaluate everything. So I would say that if there's something on your radar that you're interested in, by all means, a memorandum is something at the least we would look forward to it, because that's all we have and that's all we can do. We really have to come in. The word we use is it's predetermination. We're not allowed to do that, and we feel that we're being watched. So we do a lot of out loud talking. You get me in a meeting, I'm kind of tiresome. But so to avoid that perception, we do want input, and that's why we look forward to input, even just emails. And if you were to send an email as a private person, we get them in an hour. But I would say if there's anything that's on your radar, we want the input. If you were to write a memorandum, we're dying for it, because that's all we can get. I can't come in to look at any of these proposals under any other circumstances and seeing what comes before us. So you would miss that. If there was something that you had an interest in one way or the other, I would lose out by not having an understanding of what your feelings were. That's really important to me.
I mean, I'm new on the commission, but I think what's really helpful, if there's something that you're really interested in that you want to propose, as Peter said, we're not involved in it until you make a formal proposal.
Memorandum.
And it would be helpful if that's in a lot of detail. Now, I wasn't involved in, any past decisions, but I did see one letter that you wrote where you wanted us to approve a land acquisition versus fee in lieu.
Mhm.
And it was, to me, just not knowing anything, I read this and I thought, well, it's just not specific enough. It basically said, we think you should approve this because Fairfield needs more open space. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but basically that's what it said, and it didn't really say why. It didn't say, well, the other option is a fee in lieu. This is why we think the acquisition is better than the fee in lieu. Mm-hmm. None of that was in there. So it comes to us, and then we have, I hear that there was a very extensive discussion. And
like it was about a year ago. We had last one that I remember.
Some conservation
Southport,
meeting before I was appointed. But there was a very detailed discussion where people talked about, well, what are the options? There's these two options, and what are the pros and cons of each option? And it ended up being that almost everybody was in favor of the fee in lieu. Now, I wasn't there. I can't tell you why, but it was almost unanimous. And one thing that I think is true is that no one from this commission came to that meeting.
Nope.
So here we're talking about something that we know nothing about. And we're trying to decide, well, what is the best option? And like in most meetings, I think you'll find that maybe some people have a misunderstanding, or they don't understand it thoroughly, they have questions, and that's where it's useful to have the people like you that are more, I presume you did a pretty thorough analysis, or at least, you feel strongly about why you chose what you chose. And if you had come to the meeting, then you could have presented that.
Mm-hmm.
And then if somebody said, well, I really think it should be a fee in lieu, and you don't agree, you can say, well, we don't agree because, and then you give your reasons. I think that would have been very helpful for you.
I agree 100%.
Do you, as a question, since what you raised, do you advocate, do you prefer, are you always think of the land acquisition? I mean, see that as an ignorance, that's what I would guess.
Well,
is that
no. For Stilson, we right away said fee in lieu. That was based on kind of the property, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there wasn't really much. It was, the rocks there, I guess the lots were kind of configured such that it couldn't really bring value, plus it's isolated parcels, not adjoining anything that, part of our goal is to have contiguous.
Yeah, I would have guessed.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think most people would make that quickie judgment.
Yeah.
They're always advocating for, that's a good example.
Yeah.
That would have been
So we're open to examining each idea, on its merits. What do we have here?
I think that was the property where it came up about the way we're collecting the fee in lieu of, and how the property was assessed. That really brought into question, because that's what it comes down to, is like how much money versus how much.
That was a really kind of a low assessment. Do you?
Yeah.
Yes, so that's
like
now
I created
this, that land for that.
Yeah.
90,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's another issue.
Yeah.
That
For me, what
has to be dealt with.
what we were looking at is we're not just looking at the land, we were looking at control. And I think the one that we were looking at a year ago, there wasn't access. And I would say from my point of view, it was very isolated. And I felt like, well, the property owners are never going to travel through the swamp to throw their, lawn debris. There was no access anywhere. So I kind of felt, for me, my explanation would be that I would rather have the money because the land wasn't going to be affected anyway, and we were looking for land because Tim needs the money.
Right.
And we were kind of looking, I think, in that one, looking at it realistically. But I think what Diane was saying was maybe we didn't have your input in terms of why you would have advocated other than, land is impossible to find.
That was partly, and Adam was very, he was very concerned about this one, and that was partly the location being Southport, contiguous to, it's a year ago now, so I don't really remember, contiguous to that pond. Just to cut to the chase, Adam or I or any of us should have probably gone to one of your meetings, like you're here now. So, moving forward, I feel like we're welcome to do that. So
I used to be in commercial real estate finance before I retired, and we would write these very extensive reports proposing a loan, and then at the end there was a section called strengths and weaknesses, and then at the end of that there was a section called risks and mitigants. So we had to outline all the different risks and then how we're going to address them. So it was very extensive, and then it would go to loan committee. I would make a presentation, they would discuss, they would ask me questions, they would challenge some things, and then they'd vote. So I see this situation as being the same sort of thing, where I feel it was an advantage to me if I wanted this loan approved, obviously, because I recommended it, and it was going to be voted on. It was an advantage to me to go to the meeting and present my point of view and then address any issues that different people had. And then, of course, it's up to them. You're not always going to get your way. Different people are going to see it differently, and they're going to vote, and then that's it. But it's the same sort of situation where it's really your benefit to provide as much information as possible. And if you want to present something to us to attend the meeting and try to flush out, are there any issues? Do people have questions?
It's always different too. It's not like you have to.
Right. You don't have to physically go, but.
Where do you guys meet?
At the fire training center, but meetings are all taped and videoed.
You do Zoom, yeah. We need to think about whether or not we want to.
I think on this one, the question came to the Conservation Commission. It came to us and to, I think, planning and zoning. And it was unclear, how in the structure of governance, it was unclear about who's really supposed to look at what. Because all of us, at the end of the day, are trying to do what's right for the town, right? We don't have an agenda here that's different than your agenda, right? We're all trying to do what's right for the town. So for me, it was a little bit, at a minimum, it was inefficient to have three different groups having three different discussions in the same town governance structure that didn't talk to each other. And I think that's something we can easily address now that we've learned once that was kind of so up. Does that part make sense?
Yeah.
And then in the specific case, we probably, we discussed it based on partial information. I bet you guys discussed it on partial information. And from what I saw, the TPZ also, kind of at the end of a long meeting, they quickly discussed it and then they had to move on to something else. So I just think that for the town's benefit, we could probably be more coordinated and do better.
We did walk at the site. That much I will say. We always do a site walk. And I recall the discussion as being pretty pragmatic. And I think it was a weighing of, the pro and con. And from my point of view, I feel like the land is still there. And I think what we were thinking, there wasn't a lot of reason to think that it was going to suffer in any way. So we thought the money was important, just in the balance of things. And we didn't have any access to it. I think it was hard, on a map, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, there might have been a thought that there was access at the end of that proposal.
There was a letter, I think the one you're talking about, there was a letter from a neighborhood group, and it was simply wrong. It was simply wrong. What the statements they made, I don't think they understood where the property was. And I don't think that really, I'm not being critical, but, I think maybe.
Did they come to the meeting?
No, they sent a rather detailed letter, but it seemed a little bit rote, and I literally got confused because I'm not a good map reader. And
well, that's
like,
another reason for people to come to the meeting, because some people don't understand.
Yeah, the way it was described by someone who clearly did not understand where it was, I was confused. I was in the meeting, and it's like, look, we have to vote, and now I do not understand. That's how weird it got.
Yeah.
So we do sidewalks for that reason.
I think that's terrific. And
Yeah.
if we knew that you guys were doing a sidewalk, we would have said, like, let's hear what they found, right? That would have been terrific. And we just said,
well, those we publish, and then we take pictures, and that part is published. I couldn't have said that there was a picture of that piece of property, but we would have known where it was, and that's the point of the sidewalks, to at least, like, I've not been in here, in this room, and now I see this room, and I could describe it, and that's the purpose of the sidewalk.
yeah. So I guess my suggestion, simple one, would be if we have one of these topics come up again, then we just coordinate, maybe chair to chair.
Sign up for the meeting agendas, and when we see one of these properties pop up on their agenda, one of us needs to be there, essentially. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think we can easily do that.
Yeah.
We don't see these every week.
Yeah.
But if we know.
We can be on top of the ones that come in.
Who's going to pick first? Some of those little
Yeah.
things.
Remember, at least Zoom, if you kept that in mind, it's not like, you can come in your bathroom, it would be fine.
Nah. So
But
we'll just,
sign up for the agendas, and then you can quickly look through and see the process.
so you get
Because we
emails.
need someone to challenge what information we're being given, or at least augment it.
I love
Tell
the
you,
memorandum idea.
to put it-
Full of details.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, if you were a builder, the truth of it is, if you're a builder, sometimes the property that's offered is not really what you would think would be desirable. I can get you that strip along a driveway, and Tim will tell you, no, that's not what would be beneficial to anybody.
Right.
So I think I would be going into these things with a questioning eye, so.
And also just who decides what strip of land is appropriate, right? I mean, it can't be like a 1 foot wide strip all the way around perimeter.
Well, that's what the builder might propose.
Yeah.
And
But
that's the
do they, under governance, do they have the right to make that decision?
Planning.
Well, we can say we won't accept it, and, Tim usually makes a recommendation.
Right.
And we can just say, well, this doesn't meet our needs, we want this parcel over here.
Right.
We can do that.
Yeah.
And what we would
They
have
can
done.
say yes
Yeah.
or no,
And what we would have gotten as our pieces, we would have a recommendation from Tim and a recommendation from you, and then
Yeah.
a couple of letters, and we're putting it all together, but that's the only way we can.
I think it sounds great. And the one happened a year ago. I don't think it was terribly consequential, right?
Yeah,
It's just a
It's something I
learning,
remember,
it's just a learning opportunity, so that if it comes up again, then we can, actually be coordinated.
The hard thing is sometimes like this, what happens is that it's hard to get ahead of the ball. Oh, I know this is going to be contentious in front of conservation, or I know this is going to be contentious in planning and zoning. It's like afterwards you hear like, oh, that was contentious, I don't know, because when I listen to you, most of it is just on a sort of administration side. It doesn't really come up full, right? These properties we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I find a lot of them myself, really.
Yeah.
And
So I think we need
For
to
those
hone in
strategic-
on when we're going through these properties, which ones are going through the various commissions, which we can do by signing up for their agendas and quickly going through and seeing what's popping up.
yep.
And then maybe even ourselves, we need to just when it's, because we only meet 4 times a year, so there's so much time that passes.
Yeah.
You guys meet monthly?
Yeah, well, I'm saying
Well,
twice we see each other, and then some of these things, it's like see now you see people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At
Whereas,
least a huge.
it's not very easy when you see a list of names, or I know there's a land acquisition commission out there somewhere. I find, COVID kind of, used to go to a lot of meetings, and
Yeah.
Finance meetings, they're interesting.
Yeah.
People don't think that, but when you don't see people, I think it's more difficult.
Yeah.
So let's commit to working on more advocacy. Yeah.
Mhm.
What I mean by that, putting together memorandums and sending them out to various commissions as needed.
Mhm.
It's always helpful, getting back to the idea of coming to the meetings.
We don't.
Sometimes you might think, well, this is such a slam dunk, I mean, there's no reason for us to show up. But I'm thinking of one meeting we had, an inland wetlands meeting, where the parties show up, they think it's a slam dunk, and then we just, torpedo them. And they're sitting there like, what just happened?
What are you referring to here?
Yeah, I don't want to drop
Were
your
you-
name.
were you
I'll
at the
tell you.
meeting?
Yes, I was. I'll tell you later.
Then you
But-
participated.
The guy is sitting there going like, what the? He just didn't have any idea that this was coming. So I would recommend to you, if we're going to vote on a recommendation of yours, that no matter what it is, no matter how simple you think it is, just send somebody to the meeting, because, we're a fairly big group. We're very diverse. And I'm new there, but I'll tell you, I've been shocked by a couple decisions that I thought, well, that was a no-brainer. Why did they vote against that?
Yeah.
It happens because everybody has their opinion, and different people show up at different meetings, and you just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I would say everybody has a different, maybe there's a variation in analysis from points of view. But what I would say is we take each one as they come with blinders on, and not arguably, what happens is we get an agenda, we look at everything that's been presented, which would include your memorandum.
Right.
But we come like this, and I cannot talk to you or anyone, and that's the problem. So
Official, yeah.
we aren't allowed to do that. And if we did, we're going to get sued.
Yeah.
It'll be an appeal. So that's something that we have to do, is come in with blinders on. That's not the right word, but as long as there's no tape.
Well, everything has to be a public discussion. That's what
Right, but we don't discuss it in advance, so I can't influence you and you can't influence me, because we just can't do it.
Oh, no. I think
That's our,
all the meetings have to be amended, right?
right.
Right, and there's
It's
videos too,
Right. That's
so.
the spirit of that.
Tim, do you go to every conservation meeting or just the one?
Go to every conservation, every inland wetlands, every shellfish, and every land acquisition. And then I get selectmen, finance, and RTO.
When appropriate?
And they're all at convenient times.
Like
Now.
tonight and last night.
Conservation and inland wetlands are the worst.
Well, thank you for that feedback.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
it's really helpful.
And the invitation to collaborate is wonderful.
Mhm.
I understand the idea of doing it in a meeting makes total sense.
Yeah, because that's really where it starts and ends.
Yeah, that's what the town needs. The town needs that. It's meeting to have
Right.
a discussion.
Okay, I lost my agenda. What do we got?
I think that was it.
That's it. Yeah, should probably be for it. The Plan of Conservation and Development. I check the update website once in a while. Do you folks know of anything going on with the
We have
POCD?
two members that are working rather vigorously on that,
Okay.
because they know from what they've told us, there's a schedule and we're a little behind, and the contributions are not all up to, not everybody is done. So they're working pretty hard.
Okay.
But yes,
Isn't there some sort of deadline in
that's
August?
the point, and they're working against
Yeah.
that. So that's interesting. They're probably only going to have one meeting, then they're going to look for our input
Mm-hmm.
the person will be talking to them. And maybe they're going to be emailing us over the summer. Maybe we should just ask Ted that you guys were interested to know what's going on. But yeah, hey, Ted would be more than happy to talk with you.
Okay. Yeah, because it's obviously something we're interested in, and it could be something where we, based on what we learned tonight about how to move forward communicating,
I would
we
say
could.
that Sturkey would be interested
Yeah.
in your feedback.
Yeah.
For his contribution, he definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We haven't talked about it in several meetings, but now that there could be some movement, we'll get a chance to weigh in on it.
Tonight.
Okay.
Maybe you can reach out to you guys.
Cool. All right. I think that's it for our meeting. Does anybody have any other business that they wanted to bring up? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? All right.